Here we go. Hey, it says I'm live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this space, time, place in the grand archetypal scape that we refer to as reality. I don't know. So you can tell by the background that I've officially relocated. It's like I wish, but I'm staying with my buddy. So I brought the cards I used to do the Jupiter readings. I was like, oh, I'm going to do the Jupiter readings. I'm going to finish them. But then I proceeded to not bring the, I guess, tripod that I used to film it with. So I have 6 videos Wednesday and Thursday and today. I'll get them done somehow. I want to get them done before during the work week, though, because after the work week, I want to spend more time with my buddy. Ace of Swords and Judgment just came out. Now the Nine of Pentacles is here with Judgment. It's at the bottom of the deck. I got the chat up there. It's like super big. And I guess I'll see what's up. What am I feeling? I had a dream last night about something that I don't remember. I remember thinking it was like very interesting though, for whatever was occurring or for whatever was happening. I almost remembered it. Almost. It's like it just flashed in front of my eyes, in front of my brain, like a memory. But let's see. I wonder how loud this is. So now there's Temperance and the Five of Pentacles at the cut. Temperance and the Five of Pentacles, it carries an energy of like choosing which perspective you're going to have in a certain situation. It's like I could look at the good side or the bad side of this. I wonder what's behind both of these. Okay, so then we have the Lovers and the Ten of Wands. The Lovers and the Ten of Wands, it's just carrying an energy of like whatever perspective you take in this situation, it's going to be what you get. And so if you choose to focus on the negative, then it's like you're creating and manifesting more burden. If you choose to focus on the positive, you're going to manifest more. Escape is the word that comes to my mind. You're going to manifest more resolutions, more solutions, more progression, more abundance. That's the alignment of the Lovers. It gives back to you what you put into it. That's also sort of a Temperance energy. But with Temperance, it carries an energy of like things flowing both ways typically. But in life, from our perspective, we can only put in or not. Things don't necessarily flow, or we're not responsible for things flowing back into us. We can only control what we put out, right? And then under that, it's the Six of Cups and this Daughter of Pentacles. This is an Ace of Pentacles energy, but it's an Ace of Pentacles energy in a space that's already defined. Like the space isn't defined, but because of previous experiences, like we're not necessarily going into this Ace of Pentacles with a full fresh start. It feels like there's, oh, well, that makes sense because I'm talking about choose a perspective and in which you look at the story. If you focus on the negative, it's going to be more like baggage and restriction. And then here, because it's like the colors and the roots are the same as the colors in the rainbow, right? And then there's the Ace of Pentacles in the rainbow. And so that's why it's carrying this Ace of Pentacles energy. Oh, snap. I forgot about that. I'll do it after. It's fine. Actually, I'm going to do that now. So bear with me 1 moment. I need to take some eye drops. I'll be right back. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. New location, but I'm still me. All right, I'm back. So it's feeling like an Ace of Pentacles. It feels like there's a fresh start, but emotionally or mentally, it feels like there's something already there. Like, even if it is a fresh start, we have a preconceived notion around it. What's also interesting is that we have the 5 and the 10 into the 6. 5 plus 1 is 6. 15 reduced is a 6. And so it is like, in some way, these energies build up to this one. And that makes sense. It's like the 10 of Wands is the root. The 5 of Pentacles is what we see above the surface. And then the 6 of Wands is like, or in the 6 of Cups, you see both the roots and above the surface. So there is also a need to sort of almost get a bigger picture. And maybe that's why Temperance in the Lovers is here, especially Temperance. It's almost like you don't have all the information. And so before you make a decision or before you take a stance that is so final, maybe stop to ask yourself or stop to consider that there is more that you don't know. Because, I mean, look, who was that? Oh, the 6 of Swords just made an appearance when I was trying to pick the cards up. Because the Daughter of Pentacles, it's the daughter. It's not the queen. It's not the king. It's still immature. And I think that's what, and this is a card of moving on. I think it's, choosing to move on or choosing to move forward, choosing progress rather than like regressing. And that's what Spirit is trying to tell you. It's like, at any given moment in time, both you and whoever else or whatever else was making the best decision or choice at that point in time. Because regardless of how you see yourself in the grand scheme of things, you're still this immature, young energy that doesn't have much control or say over the forces of nature or over your life in some way. Or at least at that point, you didn't. And so it is a little bit of an energy of like, don't be so hard on yourself. Now the 2 of Swords is out. How loud is that? If that's really loud, I apologize. But you'll adjust the volume accordingly, hopefully. The 9 of Cups, okay. So the cut broke at the Mother of Cups and the Magician. So that's a pre-High Priestess energy and a manifestive energy. So there isn't an energy of us creating and manifesting, right? But there's also that energy of us not having the whole picture with the Mother of Cups. Like, there are things that we intuitively feel, but she's not the entire High Priestess. Like, there's a whole side of the story. There's a whole scenes behind the scenes and the stage hands that are back there doing whatever they're doing. And it's given me the energy. It's like if you're in a play, but there's no script. And it's like improv. And everyone is backstage queuing everything up, changing the scenery, bringing out the props or whatever. But you're in front of the audience just trying to go along with it. And so you only know as much as you know. You know the story that you're telling yourself, you know the story that you have in your head. And then to make it cohesive, it's like you're trying to force everything that comes to fit that story. And maybe it is about learning a little bit of fluidity and flexibility in this. Okay, it broke again. At the 4 of Swords and the 3 of Wands. The 4 of Swords has the Lamb. And so I feel like there is an element of trust here. But with the 3 of Wands, it feels like almost like a singular vision. Behind the 3 of Wands is the 3 of Swords. And then the 5 of Cups is behind that. It feels like maybe because of what we've been through or because of what we've experienced, there's a very specific way that we're telling the story, or there's a very specific way that we want the story to go. But the world is so much wider than what we see here. But this will limit your vision to just this. This limits our vision. And that's why the Four of Swords is down here as well, because it's asking us to come out of that. And again, that was the Two of Pentacles, Two of Wands, Three of Swords. It's like we hit a wall. We keep hitting walls whenever we're trying to go beyond. And the bottom of the deck, it's the Two of Swords and the Nine of Cups. So it's like everything that we want is being presented to us, but we still have to take it. And it feels like it's coming. Usually the cut, it broke. It broke again. So this time it broke at the Daughter of Pentacles and the Eight of Wands. What was I going to say? Usually things come to us through the path of least resistance, but it's like we're wanting something bigger than we have space for on one of those paths. And so we just have to work through the resistance basically to get it. And it is a little bit of that energy, I guess, with the Four of Swords of just like relax and breathe. If you loosen up, it won't hurt as much. And I don't know if there's an epidural for this. No, the Eight of Wands is very striking. It's very sudden. It's out of the blue. But I don't think it's necessarily completely unexpected. Even if it is unexpected, with this Eight of Wands, I feel like it'll bring a lot of context. Under the Eight of Wands is the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords has these same colors. And the reason why I say context, because like there are the other things out in the shadows that are almost touching this. It feels like there are these things that were almost connecting, but there was like one piece that just kept the puzzle from being completed. And I guess that it makes sense that the Three of Swords is here, because that it brings a very root chakra energy to this. And I would say the Eight of Wands, especially this Eight of Wands, is a little bit more of a crown energy. But I guess the root comes in because now we're able to ground what has come in through the crown instead of it just flowing right through us, like in one ear and out the other. But it feels like something coming into place that gives context to a lot of different things. And with the Daughter of Pentacles, again, it's like I didn't know what I didn't know. Like it's so much more than I thought it was. There's so much more to this. And I also feel like with the Daughter, did I say Daughter of Wands? I meant the Daughter of Pentacles. Also, with the Daughter of Pentacles, it's like with whatever this information is, it frees you to move in a way that you weren't before. But it feels like it's so much more fulfilling and rewarding, and it's so much more stable and grounded because now you can actually mature into the Suit of Pentacles rather than being stuck at the Daughter. And maybe that's why there's maybe that's why it's requiring us, or it feels like it's requiring us to work through some of the resistance now. Because maybe it's that resistance that keeps us from growing. And Spirit's like, okay, it's like 2021. Astrological year 2020 is over. The stage is set to welcome all kinds of change. And with like fairly rapidly, because it's so dire and it's so needed and it's so wanted and desired right now. But there are things that kept what we wanted from happening, from materializing. That's why we were stuck at the Daughter of Pentacles. Because our foundation wasn't solid enough, the soil wasn't nutrient rich enough, the climate didn't support, the area didn't get enough sunlight, it didn't rain enough to support what was trying to be grown. Can I finish the shuffle now? I did. Okay. And then there's the Nine of Cups and the Two of Swords. And so it feels like, oh, well, the one card that decided to stay on the table. Ooh. So now it's the Nine of Swords, the Two of Swords, and then the World card is behind that Two of Swords. It feels like every time we go to make that decision, again, we're confronted with an energy of the past. That's why that Ace of Pentacles came through under the Daughter of Pentacles, and also why it came through with that Six of Cups. Because it's like every time we try to start, we're just reminded of past failures or the last time we got our hopes up or whatever. But again, with like that Temperance card and the Five of Pentacles, it's like the story that plays is the story that we continue to tell ourselves. And it's like the stage hands, it's like somebody knows. It's kind of like D&D, where you have one person that sort of plans it, but it's interactive. So you may not even hit that part of the story because the people that you're playing with just choose not to go there. It's like you try everything you can to get the campaign to go to the bar and to talk to this one person in the bar to the point where literally everyone in town is like, hey, have you been to the bar? Go to the bar. Before you leave town, go to the bar. Free drinks at the bar. Everything you want is at the bar. Things that you wouldn't even expect to find in the bar are in the bar. I will literally take you to the bar. You're standing right outside the bar. Look at this mountain of treasure. Don't you want to come in here and just claim it? But they're like, nah. And then they leave town and it's like, well, I had this whole adventure planned out. I tried to direct you there several times, sent you several signs and several synchronicities. But that's that Three of Swords wall that we keep hitting. It's that Six of Cups thing that keeps coming to our mind, even though there's the potential for something new and something infinitely better almost. That's the energy. It's like the stage hands are in the back trying to like do this. They're like Three of Pentacles. They're trying to give you things to work with. They're bringing things on stage. They're giving you all the props, but in your head, you already know how the story plays out. And so it's like you're forcing everything to fit your story, but you're supposed to be improving. It's supposed to be more fluid. With that Mother of Cups there again. Now, the Mother of Cups, I think, like, because there's a Mother of Cups upright, and then there's like an almost exalted Mother of Cups, Queen of Cups energy. But the level of exaltation, I guess, depends on fluidity and trust in spirit. Because the major arcana, they're kind of set up to be where we don't ever really fully reach that level. It's not that we can't, but we don't typically. And so there's a little bit of like understanding your limitations, but understanding your limitations in more than one way. Like, okay, I know that like this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm believing. I don't have the answer to what I'm asking, but I trust that spirit does. And so, what is my mama and my grandma say all the time? The Bible says, lean not unto your own understanding. It's that energy. That's like exalted Queen of Cups, Mother of Cups energy. Okay, but that was just trying to shuffle these cards. I kind of want to grab the. Okay, well, Mother of Swords just came out. I love Mother of Swords energy lately. Mother of Swords, I think a lot of times when we think of the suit of swords, we think like highly logical, highly rational, and so they don't have much room for intuition or feeling. I don't think that's the case. I think exalted sword court energy understands that there are some things, it understands the validity of intuition. And so with the Mother of Swords, she listens to her intuition. She may not necessarily be as connected, or it's not that she's not as connected. She doesn't operate in the same way that the Mother of Cups would, the Queen of Cups, but she can still be just as connected. It's just it comes out in a different way. It comes out more airy rather than like watery, right? But exalted swords energy knows to trust, like, the kings and the queen, like the royal families of old, they would seek out oracles, they would seek out prophecy and divination. Even was it Hippocrates? It might have been Hippocrates, who's like the father of modern medicine or whatever, who was like a doctor who doesn't read the stars is a fool or something like that. because in that time, astrology and its coordination to like health and things of that nature were more accepted. And so, like any doctor worth their salt knows how to read someone's stars type of energy. It finds a way to incorporate it rather than constantly trying to invalidate it. Because again, it's about accepting limits. Mother of Swords knows that there are things that she can't prove. There are things that she knows without knowing why she knows them. And she's lived enough life to know that you trust them. What else? Oh, gosh. Here's this card again. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the star. See, so the Mother of Swords and this Three of Swords is coming out. It's like everything that I was saying. And it's like someone with the divine. It's like, okay, I understand this. I understand that. I understand why I went through this, but this Three of Swords, like, I don't get why I went through this. I don't see why this had to happen. Like, surely, certainly, I could have learned this another way. And it's like an energy of it's almost like no matter how much you try, you just can't get away from this Three of Swords. Now, the bottom of the deck, though, is the star. But the bottom of the deck being the star, it's like it's something that is meant to be healed. It's something that can be healed, and it's something that will be healed should we choose for it to be. And it takes me back to the day before yesterday. I don't remember what the cards were, but there was this energy that was like what we're saying and what we're speaking versus what we're doing and what we're choosing. Like there's some kind of misalignment there. It's like the words and the actions aren't lining up, and so it muddies intention. So it's almost like the universe, through all of its manifestive and attractive properties, like the law of attraction and stuff like that, it doesn't know what to give us. And so it keeps us almost in this buffering sort of period where it's like we can't get too far away from this. But it also feels like we're keeping it around somehow because the healing is already here. It reminds me of before I decided that everything had to change. It's like I didn't want to be depressed, but it was comfortable. Like I felt like I knew it. And it's like there are things that I could have done for a long time to help myself or to give myself a better chance at not being so depressed all the time or actually wanting to live my life, right? But I would never take it because in reality, I didn't want to not be in the state that I was in. And so it feels like there are some things that we do, or there are some things that we start, but we never stick to it, or we don't invest as much as we could to ensure that we leave one state and enter, like leave the unwanted state, enter the desired state. And at this point, it almost feels like familiarity. And so now it plays on the human desire to want to know. It plays on the human fear of the unknown. It's like, oh, I could heal this. I could live like this brand new life that is free of all the trauma and the baggage. But a life without limitation is, I'm almost tempted to say it's not easy. Even in my own experience, like I'm the type of person that can sometimes be overwhelmed by decision because my brain is just like always going, right? And so when I had more limitations, when I was more trauma bound, like there were certain things that I would never do. And so life in that respect was almost a little easier because it's like, well, I'm never gonna like move too far away from home. I'm never gonna take a job like this. I don't think I could do that, so I'm not even gonna try. But now that that stuff is like clear, it's like, well, literally the whole world is open. I have a lot of interests, and I'm the type of person that can develop interests fairly. Like, I can find something to enjoy in a lot of things. And I'm not extremely focused on like one specific thing. So, like, as I'm looking for jobs, it's like, oh, I could do this or I could do that. There are things that I thought I wouldn't be capable of because of my eyes, but now that those are like that's taken care of, it's like I don't have any limitations or restrictions anymore. I'm no longer as afraid of the things that I used to be. I'm no longer as afraid as I used to be of these things that literally shaped, outlined, defined my whole life. Things that I never would have operated outside of. And now here I am. And it's like, okay, well, so I have a whole life and the whole world. Like, what do I do? And I guess I say all that because, again, it's like just knowing sometimes or feeling like you know can get us to do or not do things that aren't ideal. And we know that. But it's like it's a security in knowing, even if, like, again, it's not great. So we got four cards that came out. The first card is the Daughter of Swords. Daughter of Swords, see, here's the knowing. The knowing keeps us in this realm of heartbreak. Here is going outside. The first card is the Four of Swords. So we're immediately better off than we were in everything that we knew, everything that we were mentally sort of established in. And this could be knowing how the world works. Like, oh, that's just how the world is. The world is like this, the world is like that. It's not a great place. Well, the world is it's pretty like nicely positioned to change in a lot of ways. And as we adopt the new and as we take on the new, immediately there's peace, there's serenity. It feels like there's an element here of like knowing that the divine hasn't just left you stranded out in this wasteland of a world. And it's like it provides enough calm to increase awareness or to further connection with the divine in whatever you believe in. Because when you're in this, it's like things are too congested and tied up. There's no space for it. Well, now here, there's a whole bunch of space between all the swords. It creates the channel that things can flow through. This channel is congested. So we immediately start out with that. Why did oh happy days it just pop into my mind? The Son of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. I don't know what he's about yet. And then it's the World, which is the closing of old cycles, which is the closing of wounds that we thought would never heal, and Justice, which is my favorite band now that Daft Punk is no more. So I guess I'm just full Justice now. I'm just playing. But this is that resolution, this is that solution. This is what we can align to when we allow things to not be what they've always been. And it brings a much more suitable, a much more fitting end to everything. Because again, it's like we're so limited in our capacity to understand, predict, know, control anything. And if we, in our limitation, demand and dictate how things go in our lives, then we're projecting that limitation onto our experience and enforcing those limitations on our experience. but we're human, so we still like have the capacity to desire more. We have the capacity to desire a lot more than what we're actually willing to work for, which can be a little cruel in some ways, but without that, like we would never grow or evolve, right? If we were just, oh, I'm complacent where I am, no matter where you put me. Okay. Okay. All right. So the bottom of the deck, it's the Son of Cups, Judgment, and the Star. Honestly, this Son of Cups, it's carrying a little bit of a Jesus energy, high key. And that's why when like "Oh Happy Days" popped into my mind, it's like when Jesus washed our sins away. Oh happy day. That's an old church song. Oh happy day. When Jesus washed. And then there's the dove that comes down in judgment. I don't know. I've never felt like this is Jesus, y'all. Jesus just popped up in a reading. But it's like the game has already been changed. It's like the game has been changed. Now it's reminded me of like the Emancipation Proclamation, how at the conclusion of the Civil War, I believe my history isn't the best, but the Emancipation Proclamation freed all the slaves. But there were slave owners that didn't tell their slaves that they were free. So they continued to live a life as a slave, even though technically they were free. But without that knowledge and awareness, how are they supposed to know that things have shifted and changed? And it's not like the slave owners are just going to get like volunteer that information. Oh, I don't want you to go anywhere, but by the way, you're free. So continue being a slave if you want. Now, that may sound a little whatever, but we kind of sort of voluntarily enslave ourselves to all kinds of things. Like, I remember talking, like, my dad was saying something a while ago, or my mom was saying, somebody was saying something, and I was like, yeah, like, it's easy to like live in the now and talk about the past. And so like, oh, I would never do this and I would never allow that. But we as humanity kind of sort of voluntarily enslave ourselves to all kinds of things. The beauty industry, the fashion industry, these industries that have impossibly high standards that everyone knows about. Everyone knows that models and magazines are photoshopped. Everyone knows that the food that you see on TV isn't how it's going to be in real life. Everyone knows that on social media, people put their best foot forward. People curate their feed to get you to see what they want you to see. But we can't use that knowing to separate ourselves enough to not buy into what they're selling us. We can't separate ourselves enough to not tear ourselves down because of the manufactured image that we see, knowing that it's manufactured. Like, what is that? What is that? It blows my mind. I kind of don't get it. Because in my mind, I'm like, but wait, this is fake. Like, that they're doing this on purpose. That the model doesn't even look like that in real life. Why are you beating yourself up over things that you know? I don't know. Maybe that was a little bit of a tangent. But that's how, like, the rules of the game aren't what we're made to believe they are. But now it's like it's the Matrix. It's basically the Matrix. But you have to break people out of the Matrix from inside the Matrix. And so it's almost like that's what Spirit is trying to do. Spirit is trying to get you to realize how free in reality you already are, how healed you are. But it's trying to break into your little box of a reality that you've created for yourself and trying to get you out of it. And like the star is here, just like the dove in judgment. Like Judgment Day happened a long time ago. Jesus came a long time ago. And so we don't have to be as bound and subjected to all of these things. And it's almost the power of the heart, really. And maybe that's why there's a kernel of darkness in this Son of Cups. Because if you can darken the heart, it's like game over. It's also reminding me of the roots in that Six of Cups. So this is something that goes back like way back. Maybe that's why there was this root energy. I'm like, there's a root energy here. I don't know. I think I'm weird. I like to preface things with I'm weird. Because the Eight of Swords is right here. Behind the Eight of Swords is the Hierophant. Oof. And the Nine of Swords is behind that. Eight of Swords, Hierophant, Nine of Swords, Five of Cups. This is the energy of the systems that benefit from us being in this Eight of Swords, Nine of Swords state. But again, it's like somehow it keeps so many people trapped in that state, even when they know that they don't have to be caged by it. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I shouldn't have distracted myself like that. The heart, Eight of Swords. I don't know. I lost it. Oh, I'm weird. That's what I was saying. So, in my journey, especially lately, but even sometimes before, I would just ask myself, like, what would have to happen to me in order for me to stop doing this? Or what would have to happen in order for me to be free of that? Like, what would have to happen in order for me to see what I'm not seeing? And I guess that's a question that I think it would be helpful for us to ask ourselves, especially when we're confronted with energy like this, especially the Three of Swords. Because again, when the Three of Swords came out, the star was at the bottom of the deck. And so, at the very least, it's meant to spur you into action. Like when a cowboy has a spur on his boot and he wants his horse to go faster, do you think the horse feels good about the spur digging into its side or the reins cracking down? Do you think the horse is like, like if you would just talk to me, I would go faster. You don't have to like jab these things in my side because it's starting to hurt. But we don't have that level of communication with horses. So we communicate in the ways that we do to get them to move faster. And that's something that even like people will do. It's like when you yell at somebody to try to motivate them, but it's like, I would probably do better work if you weren't making me feel worse about myself. But I guess that's a little counterintuitive. I mean, the Hierophant was there between the Nine of Swords and the Eight of Swords. So, but with this energy shuts Hierophants down because even though the Hierophant is a major arcana, it's the fifth. This is the last one. And this one has more power than the Hierophant. Even when justice is number 9 or 8, even when justice is 8 and strength is 9 or 11, even when justice is 8 and strength is 11, it still beats the Hierophant at 5. The world will always exist outside of the control of the Hierophant. The Hierophant does like mind and heart. I don't want to say magic, but it ain't got to be all that. But yeah, I just think it would be an interesting question. Like, think of something that you've experienced in life. And then you just go like, what would I have to experience to no longer think this way, to no longer feel this way? What would have to happen in order for me to be free? And honestly, like I know that I can be extremely stubborn. I know that while I do listen, I do listen, but I don't always I'm stubborn. right? So sometimes I hold on to what I believe, even if I'm like, yeah. And then eventually I'm like, you were right. And like, yeah, I know I'm right. Hello? I wouldn't tell you something if I thought I was wrong. And so, like, because I know that I'm stubborn and because I know I can be a little lazy, because I know that, like, I'm not necessarily trying to do anything that puts me outside of my comfort zone, that things have to happen in a certain way to get me to move. Or I used to be a lot more stubborn than I've been recently. I used to be extremely stubborn, but I've learned to be more fluid. Um, but it's just the way I like to think. What would have to happen in order for me to move? Turns out sometimes it can just be a conversation. That's why I was like, what? I was like, what? I'm usually more stubborn than this. What's happening? Like, wow, that was surprisingly easy. And now, everything that I want is outside of my comfort zone. Um, but that's fine because life outside of my comfort zone is more fun and more exciting, more fulfilling and rewarding. And I feel like I'm constantly finding things that I enjoy now. Even if it's like food. Like I just had a chicken, I think he said it was like a chicken Caesar wrap or something like that. In the past, I would have been like, ew, no, I don't want that. But I ate it and it was actually decent. I was like, oh, okay. Even something as simple as food. It's like all kinds of things. I'm just like, there we go. Expanding in all kinds of ways I never would have done before. I guess be mindful of the company you keep is the final message here. Not necessarily the company. Okay. So the cards that came out, it's the Two of Wands and the Three of Swords. The Two of Wands goes on ad infinitum. We see all the colors of the chakras. It's about evolution. It's about growth. When you go up to spirit, you come back down to ground, into the root. Because if you just get all these things in the crown and you don't ground them into anything, they just kind of sort of wash out, right? It's like in one ear and out the other. It's more information than you can utilize or withhold or understand. And so it's actually starting in the third eye and throat. It's starting in the third eye and throat area and it's stretching out into the root. So it's about grounding. All of this healing, all of this, like this future, these possibilities and potentialities, it's about actualizing them by grounding certain things. And the Five of Swords here could carry an energy of us no longer making excuses, us no longer being in our own way, us no longer allowing for things that don't have to deter us to deter us. Because at the end of the day, it's like if your happiness and abundance is on the line, then what's a little bit of uncomfortability? What's a little bit of resistance? What's a moment or two moments or a life of being brave? But also with the Three of Cups at the bottom of the deck, it's coming in as like be mindful of the company you keep because this it can also carry an energy of like whenever you try to progress, there are people in your experience who like tear you down or who try to stop you from doing what you need to do for you. And that's all this is. Like I don't think it's necessarily like super manipulative. It could be, but I don't think it is. It just feels like comments from people who aren't in a position to do the same for themselves or who don't see the value in it. And you potentially giving that enough weight to take you off the path that you're discovering and creating for yourself. But then that just falls under the original Five of Swords message, right? If your abundance, happiness, and fulfillment are on the line, then what's a few comments from people who don't get it or who don't see it anyway? Also, it's carrying an energy of like people that you have, maybe spirit. It could be spirit, it could be like actual people in the shadows who are like supporting you from a distance. It's like you have support in ways that you don't even really fully recognize or understand. Just like you may have those that would hinder you, you have those that would support you. And so it takes me back to the original message of temperance and the Five of Pentacles. Are you going to listen to those who support you and who build you up, or are you going to listen to those who would tear you down? Because wherever you put your energy, it's what's going to be given back to you. And that was the lovers into the Ten of Wands. Wherever you put it, you're going to find it. So that's what I got. Was interesting. Not what I was expecting. I never have any expectations really. So is it ever what I was expecting? I don't know. All right. Well, I will catch y'all later. I hope you have a good one. I am currently enjoying my little trip. Yeah. If I could go to the UK soon, I would be there. There's the Five of Wands. So we need to focus. Is this the only card in reverse? The Seven of Swords in reverse. This deck is all upright. I mean, it's not a bad card to be in reverse. The Seven of Swords in this deck, for me, it speaks of birthright. And so with the Seven of Swords in reverse, when it comes to birthright, it can't be taken, it can't be stolen. But it's like it's gated. Oh wow, look. The Ten of Pentacles, Ten of Swords, Mother of Pentacles, Ten of Wands. That's a lot of tens together with the Mother of Pentacles nestled right there. Um, it can't be stolen, but it's almost like it's locked by maturity, right? As soon as you reach the age of 18, you now have access to this bank account. Or it may come with the sun and the star together. That's interesting. The star, so it's the high priestess. Can y'all see those? The high priestess, the eight of swords, the star, the sun, and then the six of wands. Again, it's carrying that energy because the Queen of Cups came out earlier. And it's like if you could see the whole picture, it's like by the time you reach the end of your life, everything that you've experienced is going to have so much context for getting you to all that you'll accomplish and achieve. And it's not that you couldn't accomplish it without those setbacks or without those not that great experiences. But in some way, it shows you how strong you are. It shows you how capable you are. It shows you how powerful you are, and it multiplies your impact. Because it's like people, it seems that people would rather, well, it's a little bit of a toss up, but it seems that people would rather hear from those who know what it's like to be in the position that they've been in rather than like someone who's never been there. Right. Like it hits different when you know that it's something that somebody did for themselves to make them whoever they are, to make them the person that you're going to see. That hits a lot different than like someone coming up with all these theories. Like, here's how I think it works, and I think it is like this, and I think it's like that. Because it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty, but life is real and thoughts are intangible. So theory and reality is like the expectations versus reality. Life isn't nearly or life is rarely as simple as to be easily um predicted or neatly predicted at the very least. But anyway, Seven of Swords in reverse is the return of the birthright because we've done something to earn it in some way. Maybe we've healed, maybe we've matured, maybe we turned 18, maybe we finally graduated from college, maybe we went to that first audition. Maybe we sold our first painting, or maybe we left a job that we knew wasn't serving us. And for the first time, we did something for the fulfillment of us. We dared approach the realm of thriving rather than staying happily contained within the realm of surviving. I don't know. But that's what I got. I hope y'all have a good whatever whenever y'all see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make it even better. I hope that What do I hope? It's something about context. I feel like context doesn't necessarily make things less sucky, but at least I guess again, maybe that's the comfort of knowing, knowing that it's not happening for no reason. It's like wow, like that doesn't make this any easier. But knowing that it's not always going to be like this kind of helps a little bit. Or knowing why I'm experiencing this helps. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. All right, I'll catch y'all later. Bye. Yeah, and I have this on the TV again, so that's why I'm like looking up here instead of just at my laptop screen. uh,